Hi, I'm Chap Bettis, author of The Disciple Making Parent, and this is my audio blog, where I read some of my blog posts in audio format for your convenience. In today's episode, we're going to be thinking about 2 tips for connecting your children with spiritual mentors. I was recently interviewed and asked how parents can connect their children with other mentors in the church. In The Disciple Making Parent, I quote Kara Powell, who suggests trying to connect our children with at least 5 adults in an informal way. Well, how can this happen? The church can certainly help, but what can we do as parents? Well, I've written extensively on this in Chapter 6 of The Disciple Making Parent. But in addition to that material, I ended up adding several other things in this interview. 1, teach your children to greet other adults. Children can and should greet adults. Did you know that greet one another is a New Testament command that is repeated 4 times? Yet many parents never encourage their children to greet other adults and carry on a short conversation. We make excuses for them. We say they're shy. The reality is that children can be trained out of their shyness. Depending on the ages of our children, we can and should train them to interact with a few adults. Sunday morning worship or a meal at someone's house is a perfect chance. We can help our children by giving them questions to ask. Prepare them by saying something like, "I want you to go and shake Mr. Bettis' hand and say hello," and then ask him how his week was. My adult children laugh now remembering about one of our standard get-to-know-you questions that we gave them to ask guests. The question was this: did you have any pets growing up? And of course, our guests loved answering that question from children. Many adults want to connect with young people, but they don't know how. By putting the responsibility on our children, it helps break the ice. Right now in my church, I have 2 young guys around 5 and 7 years old who come up and greet me on some Sunday mornings. And now that we know each other a little bit, I'll often say hello to them first. Out of this whole cloud of kids, I know these 2 by name, and they know me by name. They feel comfortable coming up and talking. They're learning the skill of greeting others, and a foundation is developing for talking later in their teen years. Are you training your children to interact with adults? Appropriate to their age, they can do it. So number 1, teach your children to greet other adults. Number 2, talk up your friends to your children. If we want some of our friends to be spiritual aunts and uncles to our children, we also need to be careful how we talk about them. Little ears are always listening. I once watched a husband and wife have an adult conversation about issues in their friends, and don't we all have flaws? Yes. But rather than save that conversation for another time, they had it in front of their children. And apart from whether it's appropriate to have a conversation like this at all, it is certainly not helpful to have it with their children present. It robs the children of the respect that they should have for all adults. As we seek to connect our children with others, let's be careful of how we speak of them. Instead, it's much better to actively praise our friends to our children. Thank you for listening to the Disciple Making Parent audio blog. This post is an expansion of the material found in my book, The Disciple Making Parent, and specifically, this comes out of Chapter 6. The Disciple Making Parent has been endorsed by Al Mohler and Tim Challies and numerous other Christian leaders. You can find more information about the book and how to get a free audiobook at thedisciplemakingparent.com. Thanks for listening.